You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. There you go. The Iron Lady sings it, and that's how you know the show is officially back on. Welcome to Big Show with our family and friends. We certainly appreciate you guys being a part of the Chris Voss Show. As always, if you're catching us during the holidays, happy holidays. I know, people will be watching our videos 10 years from now on YouTube going, what? It's May. But happy holidays if you're in that sort of thing, wherever we catch you when you're watching the show. But right now, as we're recording this, it is the happy holidays of the 2023 era. So there you go. Well, happy holidays, folks, and happy New Year. And if it's not 2023 or 2020 going on 2024, wherever you're at, just kind of forward that to, I don't know, whatever age you're on. People are like, it's 2050. What's going? When Gotta love YouTube. It just stays forever. Like, people actually write me and they're just like, this video is dumb. This iPhone 5 isn't new. And you're like, dude, look at the date. Anyway, guys, welcome to the Big Show. As always, for the show, your family, friends, and relatives, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the tickety-talkety, and ChrisVossFacebook.com. We had an amazing new author on the show. She just launched her new book that has come out October 8th, 2023. Stephanie Rowe joins us on the show. She has her new book called Fiercely Me, her first self-published memoir, and we're going to talk about her incredible journey through her life, her childhood, lessons that we're going to learn from her, and how we can hopefully be better people and achieve better things. So she'll be joining us on the show, and I am actively hunting for her bio, if I can find it, and it's right in front of me. Stephanie is a business coach and procurement specialist who devotes herself to inspire and empower people through her work, her life, and her writing. She guides her clients and readers to harness the self-esteem and courage required to go after the goals and find the success they desire. Currently, she is creating an extraordinary life and business of her dreams. Through her coaching practice, Mrs. Rose coaches her clients to highlight the skills they develop through working with her to apply for and find success in achieving the goals they set out, like obtaining higher paid employment, etc. One of her lifelong passions is to empower others to take charge of their life and guide them towards a path of happiness that everyone deserves. Welcome to the show, Stephanie. How are you?
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me. I'm doing really well, and Merry Christmas.
There you go.
We're currently in the future, so we're at Boxing Day, but I do understand that you are Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas.
There you go. You're in the Australia part of the world, correct?
Yes, I am in Australia, and it is currently like 30 degrees, sunny, beautiful. It is a really warm Christmas this year.
Well,
it's been really warm. We've just come out of a heat wave, but I've been messaging some people in your side of the world, and they've been sending me snow photos, and I'm like, yeah, polar opposites, guys.
Yeah, I'm freezing my bum off. I remind myself every year that I need to move to Australia for a winter here, so that I get summer there, and then move back and forth. Plus, I like to see what the toilets look like when they flush the other way. As long as I don't get near the koalas with chlamydia or have to be forced to eat Vegemite, we'll be fine. But the Tim Tams are awesome down there. So, welcome to the show, Stephanie. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, so I'm on all socials. So I'm on Facebook as Mrs. Rowe Author, Instagram as Mrs. Rowe Author, and I'm on TikTok as Stephanie Rowe. And my book, my wonderful book, you can buy on my website, which is www.mrsrowe.org, and you can get it as and also as paperback. And it's also on Kobo and Google Books, so you can get it on those platforms as well.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside the book?
Ooh, what's inside the book? Lots of fun stuff. And So I go through a bit of a journey of my life. The start of my life was very interesting. So my mum and dad bought a bus and we went around to the outside of Australia in a bus. So I kind of started off with some of those anecdotal stories, and then I kind of go into a little bit of my teenage years. And so I come from quite a low socioeconomic family, and one of my teachers at high school turned around and said, "Oh, you're going to be one of three things. You're going to be a checkout chick, a teenage mum, or a junkie." And I am not one of either of those things. And I essentially wanted to write this book because I wanted to show others that even if it doesn't matter where you come from, you can actually achieve things, and you can achieve your dreams, and you can be really successful. So the end of the book kind of goes through a little bit of trauma, and then it goes into how to love yourself. And then it goes into my business, so what I've done in my professional life as a procurement representative, but then also how I've helped other people and businesses. And then it finishes off really, really powerfully. So I reread the book and I was like, wow, I am like a gun like that. At the end, I was so proud. I was like, this is really great.
I lived a really cool life, whoever this person was. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like my friend was like, she read it for me and she goes, "Oh, man, I didn't know about this." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Yeah, you wrote about it in your book." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's right, I did."
Yeah. So now you're an accomplished author. Congratulations. It's always
Thank you.
To make that crossover. People look at you differently when you're an author. It's really weird. Like
They do.
Cool, but then when I became an author, people were like, "Get away from me." No, I'm just kidding. Smart. And I'm like, "I've always been smart, damn it." And like, "Yeah, you put in a book, so now you're official."
I know. Like I had a friend go, "Oh my God, like you know words that I had to look up in the dictionary." And I was just like, "Yeah, I know, man. Like there's a whole heap of words in the world, but and I just happen to know some of them, and I put it in a book."
I cheated. I used the thesaurus the whole time. So I flunked second grade as the callback joke on the show. So tell us about your journey through life. I mean, give us a little more in depth, if you would, how you raised and kind of your family just touring in a bus when they were young, or how did that work?
Yeah. So we started off with a bus in Bundaberg. So my parents bought it in Bundaberg, which is North Queensland, and then they went essentially all the way up and around, and then they went all the way over to Western Australia down, and then they kind of went all the way around. And the bus broke down in a place in the middle on the border of Northern Territory and Queensland, which is essentially the desert. And at that point, because I'm the eldest of 5 children, but at that point there was just me and my younger brother below me. Mm-hmm. And so some of my first memories are just phenomenal. It was just, we went to, and I talk about this in the book, but we found like natural water holes, like mirages. Oh, wow. Yeah. So my childhood in one way was extremely liberating. Like it was just a massive freedom. Like I was in the middle of Australia, like this vast open country. And so it enabled me to kind of have instilled in me, I think, to like who I am today, to have an immense freedom within life. So I'm able to kind of see things in no confinement, which has been, I think, a really beautiful thing that I've taken from my childhood, and a real connection to the land as well, like being able to go back to a country, no matter where I am, because me and my husband just finished a 6-month trip around the world. So we went through Europe and we went through, it's been amazing. We went through Europe, we went over to America, we stopped in at Tampa, we went down to Mexico and then Peru. And so everywhere we kind of we went out into nature and we tried to see as much as we could of the land. And it's interesting because a lot of the places we went to really reminded us of Australia. And I just kept thinking to myself, well, the world was all one at some point. You know, we were all the continents were connected. So it was interesting to see the kind of similarities. But my childhood was just quite remarkable at the start of it, in the sense of what we experienced. We ended up on an island and we lived on that, and that was just phenomenal. I used to just get lost and I'd just go walking and just go exploring. Like I was like about 7 and I thought to myself, I'm going to try and walk around this entire island by myself as a 7-year-old. And I just remember walking in the mangrove forests and just sitting there and just like listening to the birds and watching the water come in and seeing all of the crabs kind of like scurrying around. It was just like, it was a really, really beautiful start to my life. I have to admit.
Do you feel it shaped you? Because, I see people that they live in one locale of their life and they grow up there and stuff. And I lived kind of like your life. We moved around to different places. You see that with the Army brats and people, they move around to different bases. And it gives you, I think it teaches a little bit of resilience because you have to learn new places. You have to adjust to new people and cultures maybe or scenarios. And I think it gives you a broader perspective. As you said, it doesn't lock you in. You're able to see out of the box. You're able to kind of you're able to adapt, and you learn at a very early age. And of course, you're roaming around, one of the most beautiful places on earth. I mean, Australia can go from the desert to the beautiful reefs and aside from don't get eaten by dingoes and everything
and crocodiles and
crocodiles, the spiders. Spiders
yep,
the size of small creatures. Yeah. Pretty much everything on the frickin' island.
I can't disagree with you. And like people when we traveled were like, is it really that bad? And I was like, I wish I could lie to you, but it really is. Like we really do have a lot of things that kill you. Like we've got jellyfish, crocodiles, sharks, spiders, snakes. Like you have a lot.
Yeah. Like that whole island, except for, I don't know, maybe the koalas, is just pretty much murder capital. Like
it really is. Even the kangaroos, they're gnarly.
Yeah, even the kangaroos. I've seen the kangaroos fight people. My Australian friends are like, yeah, they'll tear your guts out. They can lift their feet up off their
they can kill you.
They can kill you.
But the funny thing about koalas is, I don't know if you know this, but so when people, I don't know if they've done this to you, but they go, oh, if you could be reincarnated to an animal, what would it be? And mine's either a dolphin or a koala. And why I would choose a koala is because essentially they just drink, like they eat leaves, and then they get really drunk, and then they pass out, and then they wake up, and then they have more leaves, and then they get drunk again, and then they sleep. And I'm like, if I was an animal, like that would be a great life. Like you're just eating, getting super hammered, and then passing out to do it all over again. And it's just, I think that's a great animal to choose.
That's what we do on Fridays around here on the show. That's probably also how they all got chlamydia. I thought that was pretty
100%. 100%.
What's going on? What's going on there at the bar? So there you go. They're just eating, getting drunk. I mean, it's a life, people. There you go. So tease us out some more of the stuff that you have inside the book as you told your story of life.
Yeah. So touching on your point earlier about moving around a lot, it did actually play a very fundamental part in who I became as an adult. And I moved around a lot after I finished high school. And because I wanted to see as an adult the world that existed. How I'd seen Australia was through my eyes, and I wanted to see it through an adult's eyes. So I went traveling, and lived in Alice Springs. I went far north Queensland. I went to, the rainforest, the creeks. I went down to Tasmania. I lived in, Melbourne, Sydney, Newcastle, Adelaide, Kangaroo Island. I just went all over the place. And a lot of people, and I talk about this in the book, when you move around in Australia, a lot of people, as you mentioned, just stay in one place. They stay in a city, they grow up, they have their friends from school, they marry, they have children, they get the house, they do the whole thing, but they don't generally kind of leave. There's that kind of settlement, which I totally understand and respect. But for me, and from what I can hear from you, we moved around a lot. And so you do learn different skills. You learn how to talk to people. You learn how to pick up on things. You learn how to integrate easier. You're a little bit better with change. You learn how to, deal with change and how you transition that with others as well. And so through me moving, not only as a child, but then as an adult, I learned a lot of skills. And what I touch on in the book is around, just because there is a bit of a judgment for me, why have you moved around so much? Why haven't you stayed in one spot? Well, this is really abnormal. There must be a reason why you're doing this.
Did you tell them, why are you so boring?
I know, right?
Stayed in one place, so you're like, you have no fucking idea what's going on in the world.
100%, exactly right. And so I talk about that and I call it out because I'm like, just because you've stayed in your suburb for your whole life does not mean that there's something wrong with me. It just means that we have a different life. And so I talk about it, and I talk about, having to push through my own, because I moved around a lot, I had to learn how to settle. Yeah. And I had to learn, because for me, I'm all about self-development. I want to understand who I am within the world and then be able to help others as well through that. And so I talk about how I had to overcome moving around because it was the most familiar thing for me. And so I did that, and I had self-reflection, and it was really difficult because it was like, I just want to go somewhere else. I've done this city. I'm bored. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go somewhere else. It's a bit, and find something interesting to do. And I had to really push through that personal baggage, essentially, from childhood and settle. And I was like, no, I'm committing to myself to prove that I can do this. So I got a unit, I got a job, and I stayed in one place. And I stayed for 4.5 years. And I built a social community. I had my social network. I was doing really well with my work. And then essentially what happened was my mind played this trick on me where it was like, hey, we're going to reconnect your frontal cortex to an experience that you had when you were a child. And essentially it's called a blocked memory or a repressed memory. And so when I had settled, I'd finally settled, I'd pushed through, I was like, nope, I'm going to try it your way and see how I go. And then within 2 years of me settling down, my brain was like, hey, you're in a really great place. You've got, you're safe. You've got lots of money. You're really happy. You've got this great life. We're now going to just connect that memory back up, and we're just going to dump all of these memories from your childhood on you. And I was like, wow, this is not great. And I remember going to my psychologist. I'm like, can you please tell me why now? And she's like, because your mind knew that you were in a place stabilized enough and safe enough to deal with it. And I'm like, that's so ironic in one way. It's just like, best life ever. Here's some real bad crap that I don't want to deal with. And so I had to go through and I had to deal with the memories. And so with what can happen in life is that you either have one, which is the memory comes back fully as like a memory, or two, you have fragments, but you also have the physical sensation of what happened to you. So I was a 33-year-old woman reliving what was happening to me as being a 7-year-old child. And it was like the most craziest thing, because it's like, I know this is not like these sensations, these feelings, like, because I could actually feel the person like touching me. And it was just like, I'm like, I can't understand how this has happened so long ago, but I'm actually feeling it today. And I realized that the brain is a really powerful thing, which we, like, as a race, we don't really know that much about. And so, I had to go through that, and I had to like waffle, literally sludge my way through. And I talk about it in the book, and I worked all the way through it, and I, went and sought professional help, and I did it, and I was really proud of myself. And then I met my new husband, and then and that's where I go into the love section, because it wasn't just about external love, but it was also about internal love. And so through that, blocked memories, I realized that I needed to essentially give myself love and compassion and empathy and be gentle with myself. And I had to ask myself some really hard questions if I wanted my life to change. And so I did that. And so I kind of write all about this.
There you go. And congratulations on doing the work. More people need to do the work. I mean, if you have traumas, if you have issues from childhood, my whole life is an issue. So there's that. There you go. But, we've had psychologists and brain people on the show, and what they've talked about is when you're young, your brain can't handle trauma. It's overload because you're just not equipped. And it's shocking. It's, whatever you're going through. And so your brain will sometimes turn off because you can't handle it. It's kind of like shock when you first have an accident. It's your brain saying, this is overwhelming and the pain's too much. We're going to preserve what's going on with this person and try. It's a protection mode. And so, and then it's interesting, like you said, how the brain kind of says somewhere, that, hey, I think you're kind of mature enough to start taking this on. So we're going to reopen this for you and start sharing it maybe a little bit at a time. And, then maybe it's time now where you can deal with it. And it's kind of interesting how the subconscious mind seems to kind of know how that whole thing can work. So
it's amazing. Like, the one thing that I've learned over the last few years is just how incredible our minds really are. And but also the possibility of, like what I have seen in my life is a lot. And as you said earlier, a lot of people choose to not develop. They choose not to do the work. But then when you do the work, when you have that honest conversation and self-reflection with yourself, and you're like, I want a different life. I don't want this anymore. I want to change. And you have to have that conversation with you, and you have to have, look at yourself in the mirror, and you have to be like, what do I need to do to change my life, and do the work and do the development and change how your thought processes are and change literally how your mind chemistry is being made up. It's very, very difficult, but it's not unachievable. It's definitely achievable. Anybody can do it. And so when you get to that place, you realize, because there was a lot of tears and there was a lot of hurt and there's a lot of pain and there's still a lot, it's not that it doesn't go away. It's just that I can now deal with it a lot better than I used to. But anything is possible. Like, anything in this world is possible if you want it bad enough. And when you have that ability to go, you know what, I do deserve this. I deserve this life. That's a massive moment. And a lot of people live in this, like, oh, I don't deserve this, or I'm a people pleaser, or, no, them, I have to support them. And it's like, well, no, you don't. You can actually choose what you want to do. And if there's a passion that you love, if there's something that really drives you, you can actually achieve that. And it's just about changing how you see the world and how you see yourself in the world. And so, that was how I wanted to end the book really powerfully on that note, because it's like anything is achievable. And when you start to develop, when you start to actually take responsibility for your own life and your own actions, and because I had to call myself out. You can't do the work if you don't go, I was really bad and that was really toxic behavior and that wasn't really nice. Like, you can't develop without being like, yeah, I was pretty shitty then. That was pretty shitty behavior. Like, I'm not real proud of that. But that doesn't mean that I can't be better now. Like, that's the other thing. Like, just because I was crappy then doesn't mean that I can't be better now. And you have to acknowledge it. You have to be honest with yourself. And a lot of people don't like that because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. My biggest trauma of life was that I didn't wake up until I was about 50. And it happened when I suddenly turned 50. I'm like, holy shit, there are a lot of stupid people. And my brain went, yeah, we've been saving to let you finally realize that, because it's a little bit overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. It is. And it's, I totally agree with you. There are, like, it's hard as well because, there's this fine balance of going, oh man, there is a lot of stupid people, and I wish you'd all just kind of take some responsibility for your own actions and stop vomiting all your emotional baggage onto me. But then there's also other people which are, either starting their journey or have acknowledged or are being proactive, or they have, halfway through, or they're, they're well and truly on their way of developing. And so you learn kind of to attract the people that will either test you in one way and go, how much have you learned? Like, how much have you actually learned? Oh, let's just test. And then you go, oh God, they're testing me to see if I'm going to tolerate this behavior, or if I'm going to tolerate being treated like this or spoken to like this. And then, just calling it out, I don't appreciate this. And then having, and going, this is why, in a really calm way. I respect myself, and I don't want to be in interactions with people that have that kind of trait or that behavior. And then you've got other people which I have now attracted, and I've got beautiful people in my life which are developing, and they're supportive, and we are all uplifting, because it's like, I'm not a person that wants to leave behind others either. Like, I am like the supporter of all. If you want to achieve something, I'm your girl. Like, I'm there just cheering you on, because everybody does deserve it, and I deeply believe that. But they have to be proactive in that. So I've attracted all these wonderful people, and it's just been like my connections, my friendships, it's been like organically cultivating, and it's just this wonderful place. And I'm like, why would I want to be back there? There's so much drama. I don't want to be back there with all you people. I want to be like in this beautiful world that I've created and I've, attracted. So, like there's all of that. But there, because I kind of have it in some of the family interactions that I still have. And it's just like, oh man, like, can we just stop already? Like, we've done this so much. Like, we don't need to keep doing it.
You know what you do with those family members? You just fake your death and then change your phone numbers. They're the ones that aren't going to miss you anyway. So,
well, I just want to quickly say, because it's not funny, but I deal with life humorously. But when we were in Peru, our trip got cut off short because we went on this tour to the Amazon, and the Amazon driver, this is the only way I can describe it, he didn't like roads that much, so he drove the bus off the road into the Amazon. And so essentially, like, the car drove off, went flying, and then like flipped 3 times, and then luckily was stopped by 2 trees.
Wow.
And I was just kind of like, all these things happened for us to get home safe. And then no one really cared that we got home. And I was like, but we nearly died. And like for me, we're like, me and Tessa were just like, but we nearly died. We literally flew off a cliff, like, and we're here. And it was just so bizarre because you're saying fake your own death. Well, we technically just attempted death. And then we realized, oh no, not that many people actually care. And that's okay.
This was no small crash, too. I saw a picture, I think, on your Instagram. You have a neck brace, and I think your arm might be broken or sprained.
Yeah, so I have 4 tears in my shoulder, and I have a sac of fluid in my shoulder cuff. Me and Jason had... So it was hilarious because when we were in Peru, we were in a hospital and no one speaks English, and it was really, really bad. And so we had an x-ray, and then the doctor was like, oh, you've got a wonky neck. And I was just like, what does that mean? And so he put a neck brace on me. And then when we got to Australia, they did another x-ray. And I'm like, do I have a wonky neck? And they're like, no. And I'm like, are you sure that I don't have a wonky neck? And they're like, no, you have a normal neck. And I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, so we had a really bad concussion. I've had severe bruising because like my body fell on the step of the van. So I had bruising all the way down the side of my right side of my body, and so there's been like a lot of muscular recovery. But yeah, it was just like, it was hectic, like so much bruising, so much pain, and it was just like we get home and we're like, we're home, everything's going to be fine. And again, I realized like life tested me. Not only did we survive it, but it was also like, what are we going to tolerate when we get home? Are we going to tolerate the behavior of our friends and loved ones? Or is this going to be that moment in life where life shows you who exactly are your friends, who exactly loves you, and who exactly cares enough to check in and make sure you're still alive when you're here, And because we met all these people across our travels, and they were just amazing. Like and so it was kind of this polaring moment for me. There was, it was like, these are the people that I need to focus on, and these are the people that I just need to not worry about anymore. And farewell, sayonara, have a great life.
Yeah, I mean, these are strangers you're meeting, and they seem to, care about you more and take more interest in you than your relatives. But I mean, everyone's got those relatives, I suppose. They
do, and so it was a very polarizing experience. But I think it signified nothing is going. Like I remember lying there. Right, anyway, I find humor in this because it really was just like, what is going on? So the bus stops. I go into full like control mode. I'm going to save the world. Don't move. We don't know how we've stopped. We might be on a rock. We might like unbalance it and keep sliding. And then like as I'm lying there, I'm looking through the top of the car, and I was just like, and this is literally what I thought. I was like, well, fuck you. Like you just tried to fucking kill me. There's nothing that's going to stop me. You think that I was like ambitious before? You just wait. Well, you just wait. I'm like, I am going for the world now. You just tried to kill me. What do you think I'm going to do now? I am like unstoppable. You just, there was an attempt. I'm like, it's like you fired at me. I'll fire back. Here I come. It was just like, And that was literally how I took it. I was just like, nothing is stopping me. There is no mountain I am not climbing up now. Like you are just like, you tried to kill me. You didn't. Here I am.
It's an old line. If you shoot at the king, you better not miss. So
exactly. And that was literally what the university is. Oh, we're just going to play with you a little bit. And then I was just like, oh, I'll take this and I'll show you exactly what, I think also it kind of gave me a little bit of liberation because I was like, because people thought before, like, obviously, like I had the book and a lot of people were kind of like, what are you doing with the book? Like, why are you releasing it? Rah, rah, rah. And I was just like, well, I'm releasing it because it's a really good story that other people need to read. Yeah. And as it's been, I know.
Why are you doing a book? I don't know. Everybody has a book. It's a cool thing.
Why am I doing a book? Anyway, so it's just crazy. It was really, really crazy. Like, why are you writing this? It was like this. And I was like, because I want my story. I knew before this crash that my story was really important. Yeah. I knew it was, and I had to really fight with a lot like professionals within the industry because people were like, you can't write your story like this. And I was like, yes, I can.
You can do it I'm
an author. I can write it however I want to write it. And they're like, yeah, well, that's not like every other memoir. And I'm like, I don't care. This is how I want to write it. This is my story. This is what I'm going to do. And so as the book came out, because as the book is coming out, all of this drama is happening with Peru and me getting back to Australia and all this craziness. And so in the background, like there's all these deadlines. Like I have to get a printer. I have to make sure that all, that's happening. The PR is going on. Like there's all this stuff in the background that's having to happen. Mm-hmm. And so I get the book, right? I get the physical book and I send it out to be reviewed, and people start reviewing it, and it comes back and they go, Steph, like this book, this story is really easy to connect with. And I'm like, fabulous. That's what I wanted. They're like, this story just isn't your story. It's like, it's mirrored everywhere. There's a lot of people that have similar stories that, that they could connect with parts of it. So like everyone's got an auntie or a grandma or, or a father or, an uncle that they could relate to some of the people that I speak about in the book. Like it wasn't just my story. And then it kind of started to evolve because it was our story. It's everybody's story, and everyone can kind of connect to different parts in the book. And I just thought that was the most beautiful thing. It was like, this isn't mine anymore. This is our story. And everybody felt, and that was the last part was that in all of the reviews has been, I felt empowered. Like you can see that this woman is empowered, but it makes me feel like it's okay. Like you can be vulnerable. You can go through these experiences, but then you can actually have that inner strength to change and to become who you want to be. And I was just like, tick, 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 tick. I was just like, this is exactly why I wrote the book, because I wanted people to feel like they weren't alone on their journey, that they are capable, that, you can do the hard things, and that there is, when you do the work, you can actually come out. And so like, I'm come back to Australia after this horrific thing. I'm in a bloody brace and I'm getting these reviews and I'm just like, yes, this was the point. This was the whole point, all of you. And I was just like, I kind of wanted to just send it to all of the people that had criticized me. And I was just like, no, because my success in this book is going to be the sweetest part. When you have professionals in an industry tell you, I don't think that you're doing the right thing, and then you go against their advice and you follow through with your gut instinct, and then you have a really successful book which people connect with, man, you just know, like it's just such a beautiful feeling to experience.
There you go. And everyone's stories in life are kind of similar, but it's the vehicle that it's delivered to. Like I learned stories from, Led Zeppelin, but, I'm not into The Cure. So, it's people, a lot of the stories are similar, but sometimes we need somebody to tell the story even from a different perspective or a different level of energy, or, somebody we like to hear the story from as opposed to just anybody. And sometimes it's in the moment too. Like sometimes you're not ready for a story and that person comes along and they deliver you the story and you're like, oh, wow, that gives me an epiphany or a paradigm. Because we like to say, on the Chris Voss Show, stories are the owner's manual to life. Let's get in some plugs for your services that you do on your website. You do business coaching, speaker, stuff like that. Tell us about what you offer there and how people can onboard with you.
Yeah. So I have done procurement for, I think I've worked out like about 10, 15 years. I think it's pushing now 15 because I'm a little bit in denial of how old I am right now. So I've done contract negotiations for a long, long time. It's one of my favorite things to do. And although I'm very bubbly, that's the best thing about contract negotiations, because I actually know how to connect with people and read rooms. So when it comes to going in and negotiating, like very large contracts, I have the upper hand and I don't have any ego when I go do it. And that's one of the things that a lot of people go into negotiations with. They're like, no, I need to feel like I'm in control. And it's like, when you go into a negotiation and you're negotiating a high value contract, for me personally, it's like I remove all ego, because all I care about is the result. If I walk out of there with the price that I want to pay for the product and it is a really good price, and I've been able to add all of these, additional non-value items to it to, reduce a lot of admin work within the business, streamline processes and things like that, and then, roll that out, there is no better feeling than that. There is no better feeling than me walking out and going, I didn't need my ego stroked in the meeting. I need, like, me getting the results that I wanted. That's where my ego's, really puffs out, because it's like I can deliver on things and it's a personal achievement. So that's one thing I really do well and I love doing. And I also do a lot of like analytical work. So even though I'm bubbly, I also have the numbers side of my brain. So I am able to kind of analyze data, see trends. And as we mentioned earlier in this interview, there's a lot of people that stay in one place and they, they kind of do that kind of cookie cutter life, which is great for them. But for me, because of my life, it's also given me an ability to see the world in a different way. So I'm able to see market trends differently. I'm able to see businesses. I'm able to see how, different innovations within industries, how to then in a business setting, capitalize on them and bring them in and have a strategic approach to the market, which you might not get with other people. So, that's where I thrive. This is where, I'm all about what are your goals and how can we achieve them and how can we long-term achieve them with a really solid strategy, which we roll out. And I'm really good at transitioning, I'm really good at transitioning businesses. And so I have all of those kind of things that I'm offering on my website, but I'm also going into speaking. So I'm, obviously I love to speak. I'm a very good speaker. A lot of knowledge and I have a lot of personal knowledge, but I also have a lot of business knowledge, and that that it's kind of like a tablecloth. It's weaving those skill sets and that knowledge base in from personal to professional and getting the best results for not only me but my clients, but also others within speaking that comes to listen to me. So it's really exciting because there's so much that's happening in the next 6 to 12 months within these areas. And I'm so happy that I'm here, firstly, to do it. But secondly, that it's almost like firing off. There's all these people that are going, how can we do things better? How can I engage with people to, get them to come in to guide my teams to, do self-improvement? How can I get them to come in and talk to our leadership team so that they can understand how to interact with their employees better so that they can get more effective outcomes? So there's all of these things which are happening in the background, which are just really exciting opportunities. So so that's just some of the things that I offer, but I also do a lot of helping with just, people within low socioeconomic kind of climate. So people that might not have the resources to access people to redo their resumes and they don't know how to go in and negotiate their wages. And I found that it's not only women, but it's also men. There's a lot of people that just don't know their value, don't know how to, present themselves, don't know how to, kind of go into these interviews prepared, how to do that. So I do a bit of coaching in the background and some of those areas because, again, it's about everybody coming up. And if people are ready, if they are ready to go, I deserve this wage, I deserve to go in and get this position and I really want it. And I'm like, well, I can help you do that. So there's been a lot of successes there as well. Just, some of the stuff I do on the side just to help some people out to make sure that, because I'm all about balance, I just can't do all of the, big stuff. I also like to help out in smaller ways as well. But I'm also I have a dream and it's called my empire. And I talk about it in Obviously Me. And it's essentially creating this massive empire which is multifaceted. And so it has obviously a business, but it also has, one of my goals is to buy unit blocks and then to essentially refurbish them and to give access to single mothers, low socioeconomic housing for families, which just isn't available, and hopefully build like a place where they can kind of springboard to the next place, or that they can just need a safe place to stay for a while and then, kind of reorientate themselves to go and do the next thing. So there's all these other things outside of my core business that I'm doing to make sure that, because, I've been homeless 3 or 4 times, and I talk about that in Fiercely Me as well, is like, when you're homeless, it's one of the hardest things to do to kind of get orientation to be able to get to that next place or to go to work or, like all of those things. And so I really wanted to give back as much as I could to, springboard others and to help others along with my business and my core businesses, which I'm doing. And I'm really good at it. So I love it. It's something I'm very passionate about. So there's all these exciting projects that are coming up in the next 12 months, which I'm very, very happy about. But so that's just a little bit of what I do.
There you go. So how can people onboard with you and reach out?
So I have a website, so it has, and it's broken out into different sections. So www.mrsrowe.org, and it has all of my offerings that I have on there within business, within procurement, within contract negotiations, also within speaking. I'm bringing me in to, to speak at your events. But it also has, I'm also got a project going on, which is a poetry collaboration book, it's called World in Our Words, which is a collaboration of 24 poets around the world. So I've also got that going on as well. So there's all of the information. I've got events on there. I'm doing writers retreats. I've got business retreats coming up this year. I've got, lots of events happening. So there's a lot of information there.
There you go. Well, it's been an exciting time to have you on, and definitely motivational. I love your energy. Give us your .coms as people go out.
So www.mrsrowe.org is my website. I am on Instagram and Facebook, which is Mrs. Rowe Author, and I'm on TikTok as Stephanie Rowe, and I'm also on the Google Books and Kobo to buy my ebook. And Chris, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. I understand that it's Christmas, so this means so much more to me, and it really does touch my heart that you had me on. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Christmas.
There you go. Thank you. It's my gift to you on Christmas. There you go. I didn't give a podcast gift this year, so this is it. Thank you for coming on the show, Steph. We really appreciate it. Folks, order up her book wherever fine books are sold, called Fiercely Me by Stephanie Rowe. Thanks for audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and Chris Voss 1 on the Tickety Talkety. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time. Yeah.